Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look at race number 9 on Stars and Stripes Saturday at Belmont Park. It's the Grade 2 $700,000 Suburban, going the classic distance of 1.25 miles. You can bet it with your own DRF Bets account. Please sign up. Please take $100 on us. Learn more at drf.com/bet. Mike, this is a fantastic betting race. We're going to take a look at the field right now. Bob Baffert has 2, including the number 5, Dr. Door, shipping cross country from Santa Anita. He has just found himself at the age of 5. His last 4 races, 3 wins, a good second behind one of the best handicap horses in the country in Accelerate, and he has fast numbers.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to me anyway, just to see what he does in this race. I thought his Gold Cup last time was a fine performance. I mean, he didn't really have any trouble making the front in that race. And I guess at the end of the day, he just wasn't any match for Accelerate, who ran really well in there. But I thought all in all, he did well to be second. His races prior to that, I know he got faster, and he ran the 108 2 starts back. What's your take on those 2 stakes wins prior to the Gold Cup last time? I know he ran well both times. Those races, for some reason, left me a little cold. Like, I don't know how good I actually think this horse is. I know he's dangerous in here. I get why he's the morning line favorite. I just don't think I really want to bet him on Saturday.
The Santana Mile, I think you could easily say he took advantage of a gold rail speed day at Santa Anita. The lieutenant finished second because came right up the gold inside there. And I think you could make the argument that he was helped. I liked the Californian. It was not a strong field, to say the least. But I did like the way he sat just off another horse, and he took over 3 furlongs out under a very confident ride and won easily. I think it set up his performance in the Gold Cup. You mentioned he has speed. There is another speed horse in this race, as we see from the Timeform US pace projector, and that's the number 10, Diversify. Now, Diversify ran against Statebreds last time out, going a 1-turn mile, and he broke disastrously. The good thing for Diversify is against those kind of horses, he can sit and finish because he's just classier and better than they are. I still think he's at his best when he's on the lead. Is Dr. Door going to let him get loose?
I don't think so. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they play in here. I do think Diversify could be a dangerous horse if he gets loose on the lead in here. I personally don't like him that much in this race, and I really feel like that has most everything to do with Dr. Door being in there, because I don't think Dr. Door is just going to let this horse control the pace in this race. He's going to have to race that horse at some point. And you know what, Dan, at the end of the day, I'm not so sure that Dr. Door might not just be a better horse than Diversify. I guess we'll find out.
Diversify won the Jockey Club Gold Cup at 1.25 miles at Belmont in 2017. Opportunity won that race in 2016. He is just a distance-loving horse that I think appreciates the deeper courses on the East Coast. When he's on the West Coast, he's facing some pretty nice horses in his own right, and his closing style just really doesn't play to those kind of tracks. If he were to win the Suburban, it'd be a nice triple. The Jockey Club, the Brooklyn, and the Suburban. I'm guessing only a handful of horses have pulled off that triple. Last time out in the Brooklyn, I thought Opportunity ran just fine. I also think he has now reinvented himself as a 1.5 mile kind of horse.
Yeah, that could be the real sticking point with him. Obviously, both of his wins this year have been at 1.5 miles. I'm not ready to just, say that that's what he is now, because he just runs good races at just about any distance you run him at. 1 1/16 feels like it's way too short for him, but he runs great at that distance when they try him. He's obviously fine going 1.5 miles. I ultimately settled the race this way, Dan. I like the Brooklyn as a race a lot. I know it was 1.5 miles and he's got a cut back here, but I just like that race. I think a lot of horses ran well in there. I think Opportunity ran better than just about all of them. Once he got clear, I loved the way that he finished in there, and I think he does get the 1.25 miles. And as you were sort of alluding to, I like him on these New York tracks. I think the Belmont, the big sweeping turns of Belmont, I think they really suit this horse. And I'm just going to go right back to this horse.
War Story was second in the Belmont. I wonder if Javier moved a little bit too soon. He felt that Pletcher horse coming on the outside with about 3/8 of a mile to go. That was hard study, and he said, you know something, I'd better go right now. War Story, to his credit, he responded real nicely. He took over turning into the stretch, and he beat back everybody but Opportunity. He is a nice horse, and I kind of like him turning back a little bit. I know he's won the Brooklyn in the past at 1.5 miles, but he's a horse that could be tactically placed.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. It's funny, if you go back to his he won the Brooklyn in 2017, and in a lot of ways I felt like that was a little bit of an opportunistic win in there. He got a really good trip. He might have run better. He didn't win it this year. He might have run better this year. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about his trip in that race. He did all the dirty work in there, and he just couldn't hold off Opportunity at the end, but he still ran really well. And as I already mentioned, I really like the Brooklyn as a race, and I sort of want the 3 Brooklyn horses back in this race.
The key horse in this race, however, might be for the Pletcher barn, and that's last year's Belmont Stakes winner, Tappert, who only ran one more time as a 3-year-old, and that was in the Travers, and West Coast ran a big race, and Tappert was injured after. afterwards, and he was gone for a long time. He came back going a 1-turn mile and a 16, a little short for him, off the long layup, and I thought all things considering he ran fine. Hoffenheim is in good form. He came back to win with a 100 Buyers speed figure at Delaware. I think with that race under Taprit's girth and the fact that he is getting a chance to stretch out in distance, he's very dangerous. The problem is he's taking money.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about price with him, and I'm not going to be surprised if he runs a lot better. He did return from that long layoff last time. He had an aluminum pad on because there are some little nagging issues with this horse. You know, he ran fine considering it was just his first start back. The pace in that race I thought was very slow to develop. He got, he was 3 wide throughout, but he got a fine trip in there, and he got a little bit tired at the end of the race, but I think that's probably what Pletcher wanted for him. Get him a little tired and then point for some bigger races. Here he is. He's going to get the distance. He's obviously a talented horse. He can win. How short a price do you want on him?
The Lieutenant is a half-brother to a horse named Justify. He was no match for Dr. Dorr in the Santana Mile. He was no match for Dr. Dorr in the Californian. They shipped him to Golden Gate. He got an opportunity to run on a synthetic surface. He likes it. He also got a great ride from that kid, Tyler Connor.
He did. I mean, everything broke perfectly for him in that race. It's the fastest race he's ever run. It was on a synthetic racetrack. Now he comes back to dirt without a race really to point to that suggested he could win this thing. He's got 3 wins since he's come back from a very long layup. They're all at a flat mile.
Big step up in class for strong connections. The DeZormos usually don't take chances unless they know they've got something. And they're sending Sorry Eric here off a wire-to-wire performance at Santa Anita against 2X horses. I just thought that day you wanted to be on the lead. Sorry Eric was able to walk the dog, and really those horses haven't come back to do much. I know the 5th horse came back to win with a 96 Buyer, but it was on turf for a $45,000 tag.
Yeah, his improvement recently is noted, and these guys, Keith DeSormo, he just does a great job with his horses, but it feels like this horse is in over his head.
Name Changer has come back good as a 5-year-old for Alan Goldberg with 2 wins at a mile, but now he has to stretch all the way out, step way up in class, and his numbers, he's just a little bit slow. I liked some of the things he did as a 3-year-old, and I would like to see him come back maybe down the road as kind of a grade 3 type in the Mid-Atlantic area. This is a tough spot.
Yeah, I agree that he looked like he had some potential as a 3-year-old, and it didn't work out for him. He got 2 starts in last year. He's 2 for 2 this year. I mean, you want to talk about perfect trips. Go watch the replay of his last race at Delaware. I mean, that is what's known as an absolute perfect trip, and he did everything else on his own. His 2 races are fine since he's come back. This is a way tougher spot.
Listen, Zanotti's really done nothing wrong this year for these Mid-Atlantic-based connections. He's finished 2nd his last 4 races, but he just seems to hit the board every single time. And in the Excelsior, I guess you could make the argument he ended up down on the deep rail late before being run down by Discreet Lover. In the flat-out hard studies, probably his better horse. He came back and won 3rd in the Brooklyn that we've been talking about. I thought he ran well in the flat-out. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs well here again. But also, I wonder if he likes this longer distance. I think a mile and a quarter against Top Company, I'm not sure.
I wonder if that's going to really suit this horse. He's pretty amazing, though. I mean, they claimed him for 30. He's been 1st or 2nd in all 12 starts since this guy took him. He just shows up and runs his race.
And while Discreet Lover got the better of Zanotti while racing on the best part of the track in the Excelsior, it must be noted, he had a terrible start that day and had to do a lot of work just to get back into that race. He is the kind of horse that gets thrown into tough spots a lot, but he actually ran really well in the Met Mile last time at a race where he was 80 to 1.
I understand why they throw him into those tough spots because he shows up and he runs his races. And as opposed to Zanotti, I feel like maybe the longer distance is okay with this horse. So maybe his horse you want to consider underneath. Boy, I'd be surprised if he won. This is a good field, but this horse is going to run his race.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 2 Suburban. We both like the Brooklyn as a race. I want to talk about the 7, Take Your Guns. Very lightly raced 4-year-old for trainer Chad Brown. He obviously had his share of physical problems last year after the Peter Pan. He came back. He won his first 2 starts. I thought in the Brooklyn, he tried to move with Opportunity, and for a second it looked like he was going the better of Opportunity at the quarter pole, and Opportunity just outstayed him. All things considering, in his 6th start, stretching out from a mile and a 16th to a mile and a half. That was a big-time effort for Take Your Guns, and I like him turning back from a mile and a half to a mile and a quarter. He just flattened out late. I think we've probably seen the best of the big names in here. I'm not sure if we've seen the best of this horse. He's 8 to 1. I want to bet him.
Agree with all those things. He's a horse I definitely want to use in this race. I thought he ran fine in the Brooklyn. I like him going a little bit shorter this time. His races so far are all good. I'm with you. I don't think we've seen the best of this horse, and if he takes a little step, it doesn't have to be a big big one. Little step forward on Saturday. He's right there.
But he's going to have to really do it against some nice horses like Opportunity and Dr. Door. Mike's going 8, 7, 2, and 5. I'm going 7, 5, 2, and 11 in the Grade 2 Suburban, one of a slew of graded stakes races on Stars and Stripes Saturday. You can bet them all with a DRF Bets account and the $100 from free cash that goes along with it. Learn more at drf.com/bet. Post time for the Suburban, 6:18 Eastern on Saturday afternoon. Best of luck.